Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Chief Secretary Orville London and a member of the Secretariat for Tobago's Autonomy, Zelma Cowie, addressed the media.
Just want to give a background to the entire process, and I'd probably start at the last convention. Okay, so after a series of about 14 public meetings, which included a number of area conferences, both in Tobago and Trinidad, several public consultations, conferences, it reached to the point where we had the first convention at the Signal Hill Secondary School, and that was on September 14th, 2014. Where a number of issues were identified, a number of legislative offerings were under discussion by a number of persons, and at the convention, consensus was sought, consensus was given by way of a resolution. And the resolution moved at that consultation said in part, and I'd like to quote, it authorizes, instructs, and mandates the Forum of Political Leaders to take all proper and necessary steps to achieve and secure democratic self-governance or government to Tobago in the shortest possible time, unquote. So at this convention, a number of issues were identified as fundamental to what one would call an equitable relationship between the two islands. And some of these issues were equality of status between the two islands. We looked at the type of governance for Tobago, the definition and delineation of the boundaries of each in accordance with the Constitution. The persons looked at as well the responsibility of the Tobago administration to formulate and implement policies on all matters affecting Tobago, revised parliamentary arrangements and legislation for the wider participation of society in the decision-making process of the Tobago House of Assembly. This is what the people at that convention agreed to and moved a resolution authorizing the Forum of Political Leaders and the THA to move forward. Now, following this convention, a spate of correspondence ensued between the Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister in an effort to further the conversation. And this resulted in a joint team, a joint government team, and a forum, representatives from the forum. A number of meetings were held. However, these consultative talks, they were aborted in mid-2015, all right? And soon after that, there was this hiatus as well. There was the dissolution of Parliament and then the election of September 2015. However, during this time, the Secretariat continued to organize public fora where the public continued to be educated and engaged. The forum also engaged in a number of reportings to the people, public meetings. And so the Forum of Political Leaders, in compliance with the mandate from the convention, they proceeded to draft legislation to accomplish the deliverables which were outlined in the resolution. And so this process, this involved about 29 meetings to date among members of the forum, going back out to the public. And this included also about 3 whole-day sessions of the forum between January to present. And these discussions resulted in the creation of a draft Constitution Amendment Tobago Self-Government Bill 2016, a document that was crafted to reflect the wishes of the people, as I just explained before, in the resolution. And so during these talks, when we went back out to the people, a number of other issues came up. And those issues were presented in another document. So consequently, at that time, there were 2 draft bills, named Bill A and Bill B, and they were prepared for preparation and discussion with the public. So as the process moved on, we went back to the public with these bills on the review to be able to reach consensus through intense scrutiny of both documents. And so further consultations were held. They were held with activists, a number of target groups. They were held with the Lawyers Association. As a matter of fact, there were about 2 consultations. They were held with a number of NGOs, trade unions, and a number of political entities. In addition to all of this, there were several written submissions from individuals, from political groupings, from civil society groups, and from the citizenry at large. And after all these meetings, persons contemplated the bill. And what is to be noted is that there was consensus from various sectors of the population on some aspects of the bill, several sections of the bill, while there were a number of issues that remain unresolved. And so the convention that is being held on Sunday, 2nd October at 3 p.m. at the Lowlands Multipurpose Center is to garner the thoughts and the insights of the people on particularly the unresolved issues that came up during our deliberations. And may I also add that when we went out to the population, what was the basis of the discussions? The resolution that was passed at the convention of Sunday, 14 September 2014, the draft amendment bills, A and B, and of course the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. These formed the basis of the discussions. And so there is the bill, the draft bill, to be presented to the public on Sunday, 2nd October at 3 p.m.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Corey. That was, I think, very, very comprehensive. And I think what came out in the discussion, in the presentation, is that this has been a highly consultative process. And because it has been such a highly consultative process, obviously you will not get unanimity. What we're looking for, as Ms. Corey mentioned, was consensus. And I want to make it very clear that this committee does not place itself in a position where it tells the people of Tobago what the people of Tobago should have. What the committee considers as its mandate is to be able to get the information from the people and put that information into the bill so that where there is consensus, it is included in the bill. Where there was not the high level of consensus with which we are comfortable, these matters are still going to be open for discussion. So the bill that is going to be presented on Sunday does in fact refer to, even though there is not a Bill A and a Bill B, within that bill that is going to be presented, there are some points, especially with the election of the Chief Secretary and the makeup of the second house. These are points, even on the committee, we could not have consensus or any serious agreement, and therefore that is going to be put out to the public. I want to make an appeal to the people of Tobago, because this is likely to be the last opportunity that we will have to make our contributions to the bill. And therefore that session at the Lowland Multipurpose Complex at 3 p.m. on Sunday, that session is extremely important, because what is going to come out of that session would be a bill that hopefully represents the views of the majority of the people of Tobago with respect to this particular issue. It is not the view of the forum of political parties. We are the conduit. We were the people who got the information, disseminated information to as wide a cross-section as possible, and then coming out of that, we present a bill to the people of Tobago, so that there is still another opportunity to influence the bill. That bill, when it is finalized based on the recommendations coming out of Sunday's meeting, will then go to the Executive Council for its ratification. And then all the Executive Council is going to do, we're not going to change the bill that comes to us. The bill will then be taken to the House. We like to have a special session. We're looking at the 13th as the date for that. We're hoping to get everything completed by the 13th. So it'll either be on the 13th or the 20th. There'll be a special session of the Tobago House of Assembly for debate on the bill. And after the debate, the bill will then be transmitted to Cabinet. And at Cabinet level, it will be determined how the process goes forward. It will either go to the Parliament, or it will go to the public for public comment, because bearing in mind that the discussion is about a relationship between the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore there has to be input from the people of Trinidad and Tobago with respect to this bill. So whatsoever we send to Cabinet will have to be up for public comment, and of course eventually debate and hopefully passage in the House. So that is the process. The important aspect, however, is that we have a responsibility to participate and to give our views. I want to caution that regardless of the final decision, there is not going to be unanimity. And therefore there are going to be areas where people will not feel comfortable. But I think what I want people to accept is that we have been more consultative in this process than I think any other similar process in the history of this country. And I think that what we are going to be coming to the consultation with and what we are leaving with, I think we should feel fairly confident that it represents the views of the majority of the people of Tobago. Friday, of course, is budget day, and like the rest of the country, the Tobago House of Assembly recognizes the difficult financial situation in which the country has been placed, and we will not be surprised if the budget does not have the kind of generous allocations that we would have had even up to last year. We are hoping and expecting that regardless of the overall figure, that Tobago would be treated with the level of equity which was evident in the fiscal 2016 budget. What we can indicate at this point in time, we discussed it at the Executive Council, is that we are going to be meeting in a special session next Wednesday to look at the implications of whatever adjustments there have been in the allocations, and of course coming up with our priorities as we chart the way forward. I want to caution all of us in Tobago, as I suspect the whole country has been cautioned, that fiscal 2017 is going to be a challenging year. Financially, it can be made even more challenging if we, the people of Tobago, are not ready to accept that sacrifices will have to be made, adjustments will have to be made, and people, all of us, it might sound like a platitude, but that's the reality, that we will have to be able to deliver more with less. And the delivery cannot just be about the assembly. Delivery has to be about all of us, all individuals and all entities. We'll be providing more details as we go along, but this has to be a partnership between the assembly and the people if we are going to not only survive, but if we are going to in fact continue developing even in these straitened financial circumstances. So that's the situation with the budget. The other thing I wanted to just speak to is that we have decided to set up a special committee to look at our 2017 Tobago Day celebrations. As you're aware, last year we changed from Assembly Day to Tobago Day, and we had given the reasons for that because we felt that the focus should be wider than just the body called the Assembly, and that it should really be about us as Tobagonians appreciating our Tobago-ness and finding ways and means to learn more about ourselves and to develop ourselves. And in that context, we felt that we needed to expand the whole celebration and commemoration and, of our Tobago-ness. We are going to more than likely have this year some the Tobago Medal of Honor. If you remember, the Tobago Medal of Honor was last handed out in 2011 when the recipients were the late Arthur N.R. Robinson, the late A.P.T. James, and the late James Bigot. The Tobago Medal of Honor is really at 3 levels. All of those received gold, but there's also a silver and a bronze award. We are also expecting that the commemoration will go beyond just the one day and to give us an opportunity to impact on young people, on communities, on various groups, and to heighten the level of sensitization of the people of Tobago. So that is something that you're going to be hearing more of as we go along. And we're going to, of course, expect the members of the press to assist us in heightening that appreciation of Tobago, our history, our heritage, but most importantly, our Tobago-ness. It's something that I think we have to try to recover.
My question has, ironically, coincidentally, however you want to put it, has to do with Cove. Mm-hmm. Of course, we've been experiencing a number of power outages, and people are asking why. And because we were told initially when Cove was being built that we're going to have less outages because of the plant that's down there operating and whatnot. But we're experiencing perhaps even worse than before because of the timings that it's happening one after the next. Could you tell us what is really happening at Cove with regards to TNTech? What is happening in Tobago with regards to TNTech, and why are power outages happening so often?
I don't claim to be an expert, so anything I say is subject to correction. But based on information that I got at a meeting that I attended at the National Infrastructure Committee, Cove has, I think, 64 megawatts of power. Tobago has developed significantly since then, and Tobago's, and I think those figures I said subject, but I think Tobago at peak, Tobago is over 50 megawatts. Now, those 64 megawatts are 4 plants, each of them carrying four engines, or what you care to call them, each of them carrying 16 megawatts. So if one of them is down for repairs or whatever, then you're going to have challenges in the others meeting the load. So that anytime that there is any kind of technical or issue at Cove, we are likely to have that challenge. TNTech has committed, and I think that process has started. I think the tendering process has gone. Tendering process has started. I can't say whether the contract has been awarded for the installation of an additional 16 megawatt plant. When that plant is there, they will have excess capacity, and therefore be in a position, even if a particular plant engine or whatever they call it is down for repairs or whatever, that you're not likely to have the level of unpredictability that you have now. Now, that is what I know from a layman perspective and from a generic perspective. There might be technical issues, but I don't know. But I know that TNTech, as we speak, is aware of the problems, and there are plans, well, more than plans, there's a process afoot to have it addressed with the construction or installation of an additional 16 megawatt plant.
Why was the Tobago Medal of Honor discontinued, or just wasn't awarded since
No,
2011?
it's not discontinued, because remember, we have 2 sets of awards. We have the Chief Secretary's Award, which is for contributions and so on during a particular a calendar year. But the Medal of Honor is for exemplary service and special contributions, and more likely over an extended period. And therefore, people have to be deserving. because it's not something you give life. You know, it's almost like giving somebody a lifetime award. And in fact, I looked at the note, and the note actually recommended that the award maybe should be given once every 5 years. Because if you just give the award like that, you're cheating it. If you know, so you have to make sure that when you give it, because if you don't give it, you could always give it the next time. But once you give it and you shouldn't give it, then because if you set the gold standard at Robinson and Big Art and APT James, then that is your goal. Now you have to know where is what's going to be your benchmark for silver, what's going to be your benchmark for bronze. So that's why it has not been discontinued. It's just that we wanted to make sure that once you do the award, you're doing it in the circumstances where nobody can question the suitability of the persons and therefore the credibility of the process.
After the last meeting with the Sandals executive, has anything happened since then?
Well, conversations are continuing. Basically, there are unofficial kind of conversations going on. I think what I can say is that I think Sandals is crystallizing its interest. I think as Adam would have said, Adam Stewart would have said, they are interested. They now have to get the confirmation that we also are interested, because they can't go along, they can't go ahead. And I think both sides are coming close to that, right? But obviously, as any negotiation, as any process, especially a process that involves large investment, a process that involves very many different sectors, and to a certain extent, where emotive issues are concerned, you have to, hasten slowly.
One clarification. So a number of us went to Grenada, and one of the points that was made to me in Grenada, it was the tourism minister that negotiated the deal in Grenada. He said one of the problems Grenada met was that the island was not ready to capitalize on what Sandals had to offer. In terms of the reason Sandals has to import everything is because Grenada is not ready. They're not ready to plant 100,000 pounds of melon a year. They're not ready to be able to provide 5,000 eggs a day. I want to know, even if we are only in the interested part, when are those calls going to go out? Or are we just hoping that people see it and say, aha?
I'm glad you're raising that, because I think one of the advantages we have is that because we're coming from behind, it gives us the opportunity to learn. And once this thing is triggered, Sandals has made a commitment to come here and actually be in the forefront of preparing our people. They made a commitment to us when they were making the presentation, and these are among the things we're going to be discussing and fine-tuning. To come, bring their team to Tobago, meet with the farmers. They said that they even prepared to give the farmers pre-contracts, if you want to put it like that, so that they can take it to the bank, so that the bank can say, well, listen, this person has a contract with Sandals, as you say, to produce 1,000 eggs per day, and therefore they get we got to be frank. It's 60,000 people. There are going to be things that we cannot produce. But I think Sandals, and well, you would know, Sandals operates on the premise that the fresher, the better. So therefore, if they could get it in the island, they will do. But it's obviously going to be a transitional process. And therefore, Sandals will come in, people will see the opportunity, and they will grasp the opportunity. But the demand will not be met initially. And therefore, more and more people will see. Remember when they started selling snow cone in Tobago? And people see people making money, everybody started selling snow cone until they have too much snow cone. Well, I hope we don't reach that state. But once people see, because you see, one of the challenges that our farmers have is predictability. You know, they either don't have enough or they have too much and so on. And they don't, the whole idea is not only to help you to produce, but to help you to produce what we're going to buy. And I think because sometimes, you know, farmers complain that they carry their lettuce or they carry their tomatoes and the hotel say they may like that it's too big or it's too small, as the case may be. So it is that level of you know, cohesion, that level of collaboration, I think, which is going to be important, because I think you raised a very interesting point. And it's not only those, the tour guides, the craft people and so on. Because, you know, a lot of people get carried away with this thing all-inclusive. And all-inclusive does not mean that somebody leaves the United Kingdom or Canada to come to stay in a room for 7 days. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not going to leave England and come down to Tobago and stay. Don't care how beautiful the hotel is and stay there for 7 days. So basically, they cater for people leaving the hotel, and as the Sandals man said, the more they leave the hotel, the more money we make. Because if a man could leave a hotel and go up to Agai Waterfall in the morning and then come back till 5 o'clock, I ain't giving him breakfast, I ain't giving him lunch, he ain't taking drinks and so on and so forth. All of that is profit. So it is in our interest. But I think the important thing, and the readiness, is not just about whether you're getting enough, whether you can plant enough tomatoes or produce enough eggs and so on. The readiness is also about mindset. People have to see the opportunity and be willing to grasp it. Because my information is that there are people in other parts of the country who are seeing the opportunities and have already started mobilizing in order to take advantage. You know, and nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying that we must also be part of the process, because I'm certain that there are farmers in Trinidad looking to see, well, that's an opportunity. And you know, I could still get fresh things over here within 24 hours, so I will qualify. So it's a matter of us in Tobago. I mean, while we discuss, and there's nothing wrong with that, discuss the pros, discuss the cons, while we put our concerns on the table, we must also be able to look at the opportunities, because I'm certain that you would see how not only Grenada has been transformed, but some Grenadians would have benefited significantly from it. All right, so that is the situation.
My question is, how concerned are you for Tobago that the FACTA legislation was not signed by Trinidad and Tobago as yet?
Well, as any, and not just in Tobago, as any citizen looking at the possible consequences, I am concerned, because I think it is Belize. You know, they're actually a country where all of us can see what the impact is of not signing and what it does to your economy and your quality of life. But I am certain that it will pass, because no political party, regardless of how cynical it might be, is going to be prepared to accept the backlash if it is to be held responsible for the FACTA not being passed. So I'm concerned, but I am not necessarily distressed at this point in time, because even out of self-interest, I am certain that the recalcitrant will come around.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending October 1st, 2016.